Hello, I'm Ronnie Beck, and this is a video blog discussion that finishes out the requirements for American entrepreneurship since 1900 for Liberty University in the fall of 2021. Now, it's a discussion thread for a research project. Now, my research project was over Otasco, or the Oklahoma Tire and Supply Company. And my research question was really evolved around, why did this company suddenly go out of business in the late 1980s? Now, Otasco had been founded in 1918, so it was in existence for 70 years. But for this video blog and for the class, we wanted to talk about the significance of the research question. Well, it was, why did this, what seemed to be a prominent business, especially through the 60s and 70s, all of a sudden go out of business? Well, what I found out was that there were several factors that came into play. In the late 80s, especially in Oklahoma, we had the oil bust. So for my generation, there were a lot of businesses that were going out of business in the 1980s, and Otasco was one of them. The oil boom had a significant impact on the finances of your states of Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana during the 1980s. So that was kind of the significance of the research question, looking at why this company went out of business. Now, there were also several other factors. First off, the company was in very good shape and was very well ran whenever the founders were on board, and they actually stayed with the company for over 50 years. But after that, in the last 20 years of this corporation, we found that some of the leadership changes that took place really affected the culture of this company. And eventually, in 1984, the employees bought out the company, and then it quickly disintegrated from there. And these employees that were there lost a lot of their retirement and their wages, obviously, from the downfall of Otasco. Now we talk about what's the explanation of the key primary sources. Now, what I had to do was I had to go to the Oklahoma History Center here in Oklahoma City, and I was able to get into what they call their vertical files. And I spent quite a lot of time going through their vertical files. Now, a lot of it I could get online, and most of the sources, especially the primary sources, were available online, but it was mostly newspaper articles. By going to the History Center, I was able to get some more updated copies of the newspaper articles, something that was easier to read. And there was a lot of articles that were in the vertical file that were actually in this, we're talking a manila envelope file of Otasco clippings that were not available online. So that was interesting, and there was a lot of good information there. However, whenever I'm trying to research a company, mostly what I found was that it was more about the founders, the Sanditon's, than it was about the company itself and what actually happened, until you got to the 1980s, and then there were several articles that I was able to read and take information from that explained everything that was going on in 1984 through 1988. So for a summation of the research findings, I got to tell you what really struck me was I was able to find out more information about the early founders and how they were able to succeed and how they took care of their company and took care of their employees over its first 50 years or so. The findings that I found at the Oklahoma History Center to include one of their main historians there who wrote a bunch of articles, which gives a summation of some of their displays that's there at the museum, part of the History Center, and the Encyclopedia of Oklahoma History and Culture was a very good source. So that was kind of a summary, and that this is just a video blog of what my final research project was for this particular course. So thank you very much for your time, and fellow classmates, I look forward to your responses to this video. Thanks.